Hello everyone, my name is HAC, and after a long unplanned hiatus, I have returned with a new comic book review. And what a special comic we have for today. So to speed through my introduction, again I'm the genuinely beautiful and moronic HAC of the Hack Jack Show, and I've been reviewing all sorts of comics for this channel for over 4 years now. I am so happy to share my thoughts on the highly anticipated Ultimate Spider-Man #1, written by Jonathan Hickman and illustrated by Marco Checchetto. To start off, I will give my general thoughts of the book before I go into specific critiques. To summarize my thoughts and feelings on the comic, it is a wonderfully drawn and written first step on this new reimagining of Spider-Man, which pains me to say that unless you are already committed to following this new Spidey series, I recommend you wait and see where this comic is going. Social media has already given this book tremendous and rightfully earned praise, but it does not deter the fact that issue 1 of Ultimate Spider-Man is ultimately one big setup. Ultimate Spider-Man #1 opens on an emotionally heavy day for Peter Parker. After getting dressed and eating breakfast with his wife Mary Jane and his 2 kids, Richard and May, he heads to work at the Daily Bugle. Once he arrives, Peter meets up with his boss, Ben Parker, to head towards a memorial service for the victims of a terrible terror attack that took place in Manhattan. And I'll stop right there because you can already tell from my brief summary of the opening scene that it is an extremely different Spider-Man story. If what I've described intrigues you, then go ahead, pick up the issue at your local comic shop. Don't let my words stop your curiosity. But if you want to hear my full detailed thoughts on the comic, then please continue watching. Before writing this review, I read the comic 3 times on 3 separate occasions. I needed to know what my honest feelings were about the issue before I put it into a recorded video. And the third reading is where I can see the praise and flaws much clearer. One thing I can praise this comic without any hesitation is Marco's art. The man never failed to deliver, and I'm glad to see him grow from his time on Daredevil. Marco has a knack for giving the character subtle yet distinguishing facial expressions, a great sense of flow and continuity between panels, and is able to draw every location within each scene with just enough detail for the reader to understand what everything is taking place. I should also give credit to colorist Matthew Wilson for giving the comic a very appropriate winter tone that works within the setting of the story and that meshes well with Marco's pencils and inks. Another praise I give the comic is Hickman's writing when it comes to dialogue. Even with one issue, Hickman has nailed the characterization of every important Spidey character, from Peter's sarcastic yet good-natured heart, MJ's loving caring nature to her husband, to even Jonah Jameson's gruff yet supportive attitude to the people he cares and respects. I should add that Hickman's dialogue feels very natural and flows well, even when he's directly using writing techniques like foreshadow or when he alludes to the greater themes of this new Ultimate series. It all works to create a narrative that is engaging to read. With my praises out of the way, I will give my biggest criticism of the comic. With how this story is structured, we do end the issue with an exciting lead into issue 2. But as it stands, there is not enough to know where the story is heading. I honestly feel that our first issue should have been the whole complete story of Peter deciding to be Spider-Man, and we see the immediate consequence of his decision. Therefore, we, the reader, can understand what's at stake and what would be the status quo for this series. If Stan Lee and Steve Ditko can tell Spider-Man's whole origin in roughly 10 pages or less back in 1962, so can this creative team. It's disappointing to say, but it should be said. This book is double the size of a traditional 22-page comic, yet it takes too much time to set up every plot point that doesn't directly relate to Peter. And it was on the third reading that I realized that while Hickman's dialogue was engaging and interesting, it blinded me to the fact the book finished right as it was about to get interesting. In essence, this whole comic is just an Act 1 to the origin story, and I heavily dislike comics that stretches a narrative that could be told in a more effective and efficient way regardless of where the story is taking place within the greater plot. With everything said, I have nothing but praise with what's actually written and drawn on the book. and I will be following the story to see where it's going and even possibly checking out the new Ultimate titles that are coming up. Overall, I am excited for the potential that the series has to offer, but I cannot in good faith tell you guys to go and buy it as the story is still unfolding, and it only takes one issue to ruin that potential. I recommend waiting for the next issue to see where the story is leading, or wait for the inevitable paperback trade to get the full story at a more reasonable price.